Shimelle Laine, and I'm here with a new edition of Sketch to Scrapbook page. Today's sketch includes two 4x6 portrait photos and then a starburst design at the top of the page. I'm using products from my May Best of Both Worlds kit and two 4x6 photos taken at It's a Small World at Disneyland. Now, I've just started here with the basic format of the page. I've added a 12x12 sheet of cardstock for my background. That wasn't in the kit, but if you look at the sketch, it has this border around the edge, so I wanted to add a solid color there. And then I've divided the two sections of the page into an 8-inch and a 4-inch block. So the large block at the bottom of the page is 8 inches, and that's just one solid pattern here. I'm using the gray and cream diagonal stripe. That's actually the reverse of the butterfly print, and that's by Jelly Bean Soup. Then the top 4 inches is going to be this starburst design. There's actually a bit of overlap here because you'll see if 8 plus 4 equals 12, I've got not only the little bit here, 1/4 inch top and bottom, but also the space that's going to get covered up here in the middle. For that space in the middle, I'm going to use one strip of the other side of that gray striped pattern paper, and that's the little butterfly print that brings in all the different colors that I want to use on my page. Now, I've just added a scrap of white cardstock, so I have the space allocated to create this design here with a variety of different pattern papers. So I'm going to be covering everything in this white box. It doesn't matter what paper you use here. It was just something that I had a 4 by 11.5 inch strip in my scrap, so that was nice and easy to use. But as you can see, that's a really stark white with all the cream paper I've added in here, but not to worry because it's going to be covered up by other patterns. So that's my first step, and I'm going to be starting with the scraps that I have in my kit because I have some really small pieces like these from Lawn Fawn, and I just want to stay within colors that are represented here in my butterflies if possible, and arrange everything in these sort of starburst or sunray type shapes. And where I have small pieces like this, I can run them on an angle and then cover up larger pieces of the design with papers where I have more to work with. But this way I make sure I'm using up all these pieces right down to the very end of each piece. And now I can just go to my kit and maybe to some other scraps, let's see how I go, to fill in the gaps with different pieces to create the top part of the sketch. You can follow the link below the video if you'd like a step-by-step tutorial on doing the pieces of a starburst design. But basically what I'm doing is just piecing the different scraps together, cutting angles so that they will fit together. So I have quite a few pieces that are about 4 inches tall, so that makes it pretty easy to start filling in those gaps. And then I can start laying different papers down, just penciling in where the edge is so that I can then line that up and then work out where the next piece is going to be and cut that to fit as well, and just fill in the gaps until the whole piece is filled with all different pattern papers. Now, this is a point where you can add lots of customization to the detail of your design. If you like stitching on your pages, you could do a zigzag stitch over the top of each one, or you could do a straight line either side of the edge of each piece of paper. You can do all sorts of different treatments around the edge, so you could put your piece together where it has all the same border punch or different border punches along the way. You could go over the lines with twine or tape. So many different things you can do there, but I've just added ink to the outside edges of the box, and I'm ready to go ahead and start adhering all of my page elements here. So I have the big box at the bottom, and I'm leaving a 1/4 inch of the gray cardstock all the way around the edge of the whole layout. Then same thing with my starburst block at the top, and that's going to overlap. And when I was putting the starburst block together, I kept in mind that it was the top edge that was going to show, so the top edge needs to be as tidy as possible, but you can have a little bit of imperfection along this bottom edge because that's going to be covered up by the border piece. So that then goes over the top, and if you want a bit more dimension, you can always adhere that border piece with pop dots rather than just flat adhesive. So this piece is the only one that goes all the way across the full 12-inch width of the page. Everything else leaves that gray border around the edge. And now I can look at where everything is going to go. So I have my two 4x6 portrait photos, and they're going to go to the side here. And then my title, the title space in the sketch is here, so that your photos are taking up about 2/3 of the width, and then the title carries on to the edge. Space for journaling here, and a little date and or subtitle, location, that sort of journaling at the bottom. And then 3 spots for embellishment. One down here, that's going to work with this photo as long as I keep it small. One at the end of the journaling over here, which should be fine. And then just a little bit of embellishment around my title lettering. For my title, I wanted to use the gray letter stickers, but I didn't want to spell out the entirety of "It's a Small World After All" in letter stickers, and the other stickers that I have in the kit weren't really the look I was wanting for this particular page. So what I've done is to just use the letter stickers for the 2 most prominent words, and then use a label punch with a scrap of paper from the kit. And this label punch has 3 sizes that you punch all in one. It's from EK Success. A bit of an older punch, but I really get a lot of use out of that particular design for both titles and embellishment. And sometimes you can use it for journaling because it's great for dates and short things as well. So I've just added that above and below to frame the title lettering. And quite often when I'm doing title lettering, you'll see me put things along the bottom edge so that everything has that grounding line, just like you were writing your letters on a line on notebook paper. This time I wanted to move it up a little bit, so I've used the top line as a guide, but I haven't kept it perfectly straight. What I wanted to do was avoid having that line show through the holes in any of the letters, like the O, the R, the D, or the A. So I made sure that the gaps would be just far enough down so that the divide between one paper to the next, that break, won't show through the letter, and that makes it a little easier to read where you have all those different patterns playing together. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of small embellishment here around the title, so I'm not too worried about the fact that it's a little sparse at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and get my writing in place so that I don't run out of room, and then finish up with my embellishment. If you do want to use the label punch with journaling, sometimes it can help to go ahead and stamp or write whatever it is that you want on the label first, and then just turn the punch over to see where you're going to punch the shape. And you may have a little bit more luck than trying to write on the small piece of paper, because sometimes it's just a little easier to see what or to get your handwriting to look natural by just writing it on the normal sheet of paper before you cut it. Because sometimes if I do it the other way around, it just looks a little different, where I'm trying to hold the small piece of paper in place, or I'm trying to get it exactly the right size, and then actually I don't like the pop up there. Let me change that. And then it just works a little bit better to write it first, and especially with the date stamp. You've seen, you may have noticed I have kind of 50-50 luck with the date stamp. Sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I make an absolute mess out of it. So it helps to just go ahead and get that written the first time, and then go ahead and punch it out. So now I'm ready to move on to my embellishment. I know I have my tiny little wood veneer pieces that I want to scatter around, but I also want to bring in something that will have a little bit more color too. My first step in the embellishment is going to be washi tape. I'm going to bring some of that in just to mark off the spaces where I'm going to add a little bit of embellishment. And I was looking to see if I wanted that above the edge of the photo, but I don't. I want it down at the bottom of the page, or bottom of the photo, and then I'm going to run it across there. Then I also want something here at the end of the journaling. Also going to go right off the edge here. And something up here with the title. Now the title is probably going to be the trickiest because I have all these other layers, but I think I can get a little bit tucked behind here without destroying too much. And that way I also have that 2013 date that's printed on the tape. This is the tape from Webster's Pages. Then next piece I wanted to use was this. These are the Jelly Bean Soup hexagon stickers, and I'm thinking I can bring in a little bit of color, and I didn't want to go too far over the top of that photo, so that works there because it does include just a couple partial shapes, but of course you could cut any of these as well. But this matches the butterfly paper perfectly. So, oh, and I've already used one that I've already put the date on the page, so I don't need another one that says date. I should go with something else instead. Maybe because I've added the turquoise tape, maybe better to stick with the gray and the yellow. But if I just use one yellow down here and cut it and use the other part at the top. Actually, that works okay there. So now I have that all the way across, but I could mix the colors. I ended up using all yellow, but I think it would work either way. Then maybe bring in some of the turquoise from here. If I have 3 different turquoise pieces, I do. I have one that does say thank you, but I think I can still make that work with the theme of the page. One little asterisk and this not flower, but feather print. And with these, I'll start adding some pop dots to bring in a bit more dimension. So I'm getting quite a few flat layers added in there. Let's see if this large one will work at the top. I think because I have other pieces popped here, I'm not going to add a pop dot to this one, but just overlap. So this sticker here now is overlapping the tape and the hexagon sticker, and it's underneath the lettering. So I like how all of those layers are very close together and compact, brings everything together. And maybe if I bring in the wood veneer now, I quite like to use the stars, and I'm thinking I could use a few on each little grouping. So there's 3. And then I'll do the same thing with the others. And with the others, put 3 little stars around them. And with the wood veneer, you can use liquid glue if you prefer, but because they're very light, I haven't had any trouble just using the dots off my normal adhesive. And I just attach it by touching it on the roller and then bringing it onto the layout. I'm looking for the joins and things, so I'm placing things on the edge so that they're touching all those different layers. Same technique throughout all the little groupings. With the title, I did decide to add just a little bit more. I added 5 stars instead of 3, but that's the only difference. And then my last little finishing touch is going to be a little bit of shine from some Heidi Swapp Color Shine. And I'm just going to do a few little drops near each of these little embellishment spots. A little bit up here at the top. And that's where I'm going to call this done. So I'd love to see what you do with this sketch, and you can see another version on the blog to see a guest interpretation of the same sketch. And I wish you lots of happy scrapping. See you soon.